especially when times get tight, because right now we are almost post-pandemic. People are recovering, going back to work, going back into normal life, it seems like. So here's the first thing, ready? It is to make sure that you are paying your housing. So make sure that you are staying current on your rent, on your mortgage. I know it can be tough. Say you have a $1,500 rent and maybe you only have $500 to pay rent because you pay, you do gigs, gig working, you do commissions, you work here and there or on the side, or you just lost your job completely or you're furloughed. Make sure you stay current on your housing. In Florida, we have the governor, he had signed this thing saying basically they're not going to do evictions until starting June 2nd. So that people are taking that as well. That must mean I don't have to pay my rent because the governor's going to let them evict me. But that is actually not the case at all. They can still go ahead and evict you. So please make sure that you are paying your mortgage, you are paying your rent, you're making arrangements and calling them and not just skipping it thinking that there's some exception, law, or rule that exempts you from it. What we saw happen in 2009, 2010, and I'm saying this because I've checked with realtors, I've checked with financial experts on this. It will catch up. Companies have different rules. Property managers have different rules as well for rent payments being late and how they want to collect that. So don't skip it. And I also want to say, don't pocket and dodge your housing payment. What also tends to happen is people say, hey, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent and mortgage, so I'm just going to be up on out of here. So let me just pocket the money I do have and just stash it away for later. And the reason why as a Christian you definitely don't want to do that is because in Galatians 6:7 it says this, God is not mocked. Whatever one sows, you're going to also reap. That includes some bad behaviors and mismanagement of money. So I do not want to be on the other end of that stick of sowing bad behavior, of dodging on somebody for not paying rent or not paying your mortgage, and of course suffering the consequences of that later, because God promises in his word that whatever we sow, we will reap, and that includes even bad behaviors like not paying our bills. So that is my first piece of advice to keep doing when times and money get tight. My second suggestion is this: make sure that you stay current with your insurances. That means your medical and your car insurance bills. You'd be surprised how many people actually go ahead and cancel their car insurance during this time just so they can save $100, $150. And sure enough, that's the time that they're going to end up in a car accident. Something happens, there's a fender bender. Maybe it's not so much a serious accident, but it is just something that now they're going to have to pay out of pocket for. So the financial consequences that can come of being in an accident when you don't have insurance, just so you could save $150 or even $50 for the month, don't do it. It can be disastrous for people and lead to even bigger economic problems in the future post-pandemic. So make sure you keep paying those insurances. And the third thing I want to suggest to everybody is make sure you continue to be a generous giver. See, no matter what, I'm always been the one that's been the giver. I will give, I will continue to sow, give my offering, give my tithe, and then of course go beyond that and see other ways that I can sow and be a generous giver. The Bible is super clear on what it means to be a giver. It means to give financially, to step out in faith, to trust God with your finances. And hey, during this time, God will provide your seed to sow. In fact, in 2 Corinthians 9:10, it says, he provides seed to the sower. And let me just read the whole thing for you. Now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the harvest for your righteousness. So not only is God going to give you the money that you need to pay your rent, to buy your food, to pay your bills, but he's also going to be giving you money to go ahead and continue to be a generous giver. So continue to do that. Continue to sow into your local church. into your nonprofit, the ministry, the people that are encouraging you through this season. Make sure that you're continuing to be a generous giver. And the reason why that one is so important to me, as keep doing that no matter what, is that personally I've experienced that I grew up in church. I've always loved to give financially, tithes and offerings, but there came a point in my life where I was actually in my going and getting my master's, and I was working a part-time job. I was working for a wedding videographer, editing videos for him, and I was making maybe about $1,500 a month as a part-time job. I was also an intern for a ministry and going to school. So I had expenses, and I didn't have a very good paying job, but no matter what, I kept giving. So money was tight. I kept sewing. I kept just being generous with whatever I had to those around me. If it meant buying somebody lunch, did that as well. But I started asking God, Lord, I just won't be able to get by, but I want to be able to thrive. I want to be able to save up for the car that I want and not just pay the bills to just get through this time. And I believe it was because I was faithful in being a generous giver during that season when money was tight, that God was able to bless me with the job that I ended up getting. And it was a total miracle. I actually applied for a part-time job at a news station to be a video editor. Yeah, so I'm editing wedding videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm thinking, hey, let me spend some time editing news videos for a local news station. I go in for the interview, I sit down with the hiring manager, I do my little video editing test, and he comes in and he says, clearly you are qualified for this job. Like, this is a no-brainer for me. But I'm just wondering why you didn't apply for the news producer position that we have posted. And I looked at him and I said, well, it's because I'm in school right now and I just don't want to, let a job interrupt my schooling right now. So that's why I'm looking for a part-time job, so it doesn't interfere with school. And he's like, yeah, but this could still work out for you. So within 30 minutes of being there interviewing for one job, I actually ended up being interviewed by a news director for a different job, a job that actually was full-time, was paying me double what I was applying for, and the schedule worked out. So it didn't interfere with school at all, and I was still able to keep my part-time job with the wedding company. So God is faithful. No matter what happens, no matter the season that you're in, no matter how money may feel tight and that you can't do something or be a generous giver, or that you might have to pull back on the giving to your local church, don't do it, because God has a setup for you. He has something for you. You just have to hold on. Be faithful with what He's given you already. Hey, $1,500 does not sound like a lot. Even now, it doesn't sound like a lot. But I was still faithful to give my tithe. I was still faithful to give my offering. And I was still faithful during that season to say, hey, the offering bucket, or I have a chance to give $5 to this preacher, minister, missionary, whatever it was. I was still faithful during that time, and God saw that. And He has promised me in His Word that no matter what, He's going to give seed to the sower, and He's going to take care of me in this season. So do not back off on your giving. In fact, I encourage you that if you are feeling that tightness, you're feeling that I can't do it, I have to make a choice between paying my car insurance or buying food, let me just encourage you, just take that $5 stretch and just say, you know what, I'm going to give an extra $5 this week and sow it generously. It may not seem like a lot to you, but it means a lot about your heart and how you trust God in this season. So you never know. You might be going in for a job interview in the future for one job and end up with being promoted before you're even hired. I mean, that is a miracle in itself. So let me encourage you in that, to continue to be a generous giver. And we figured we'd share some of these tips that we've learned along the way in our life, because as a church, at ASAP Church, we are going into a new season. We're calling it The Next. because we know in the end God has something for everyone. They've been sitting at home for 2 months. They've been dreaming big dreams. They have bucket lists that are unfulfilled, and God wants to, of course, propel people into that next season for them. And as a church, we are moving into the next season God has for us in launching a Spanish ministry, as well as some expansions in other areas of the ministry. So if you are looking for a way to just give and be generous and go further into your next season, let me encourage you, of course, give small, give big, but take that step of faith just to show God, hey, I'm still trusting you through this season. So our next campaign is called The Next, and you just text the word NEXT, N-E-X-T, to 813-563-9201 if you want to sow into that campaign for ASAP Church. We're moving into the next season, launching of this Spanish ministry, and we are, of course, being generous givers in the meantime to get us there. So that is all I have for today. Tomorrow I'm going to share with you 3 tips to quickly get $50 to $100 back into your account without getting a second job. So we're going to look at ways that you can cut some spending that are very simple, very easy to do, maybe a couple phone calls or doing absolutely nothing whatsoever, and you'll still be able to get some more money back into your pocket during these times when money seems a little bit tight. So, love you guys. Can't wait to see you all again in person. And if you are watching from afar, let me just say we love you as well. And hopefully we can see you in person at some point in the near future.